turn to our exclusive on the beat tonight. Comedian Dave Chappelle is about to join me to talk politics. He recently won an Emmy for that performance heard around America, his hosting of SNL, days after Trump won, and his net.
I listen to him say naive, poor white people things. Man, Donald Trump's gonna go to Washington and he's gonna fight for us. I'm standing there thinking in my mind, you dumb You are poor. He's fighting for me.
That was the spirit in Chappelle's Netflix special, as well as that Emmy-winning SNL performance. Now, he's been at the forefront of comedy for years. His old show revealed and explored all kinds of tense cultural moments. Now, he's back with a Netflix special, as I mentioned, and a planned tour. This is new with Jon Stewart. But this is why we're talking tonight. It's the first time in his career that he's personally campaigned in politics out with a political endorsement, something he's never done before, and campaigning now with former NAACP chief and his longtime friend Ben Jealous, who is a Democratic candidate running for the governor of Maryland.
I gotta tell you, personally, as a guy, I've never had a lot of trust in government, really, until I realized that my godbrother might get a powerful seat. It makes me trust the seat more.
With me now is Ben Jealous, candidate for the governor of Maryland, and comedian Dave Chappelle. Thanks for being here, both of you. My question, Ben, after all your work in civil rights, why are you running for governor now? And Dave, why are you endorsing him when you don't usually get involved in endorsing candidates?
Ben, you want to go first?
Sure, I'll go first. You know, Ari, look, I'm running for governor because I have a vision that we can finally fully fund our schools. We can finally pass single-payer, so-called Medicare for all, and we can end this era of massive student debt by ending mass incarceration. And a big part of ending mass incarceration in Maryland is to finally legalize cannabis, period. And so that's part of why Dave is here, is that we've been talking about, frankly, our experiences when we were young and the need for us to have a just set of laws that help to reduce the number of people in our prisons.
Oh, and as for me, Ari, Ben and I are like family, literally. Like, our fathers were best friends, and my father was Ben's godfather. So I met Ben in person when we were 17, when Ben was at Columbia, and we became fast friends. Unbeknownst to me, the plan was Ben was supposed to convince me to try to go to college, and that plan obviously failed miserably, thank God. But
well, Dave made $750 telling jokes in Washington Square Park in 15 minutes, and I was like, college is not going to help you do better than this.
But Dave,
yeah, man.
Dave, had you gone to college, you might have become rich one day.
Yeah, that was the myth. I mean, that was the legend. But I think everything worked out better than I could have ever imagined.
Well, but you also have to understand that my godfather was on a tear because Dave was the first male in his family not to go to college since slavery. And so there was a batting average that he wanted to keep up for the family, and I was on a sacred mission. But when I came and reported back that his son could make $750 in the park telling jokes, he was like, yeah, okay, I get it.
Yeah, I listen. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, man, like, I have never, ever even stuck my toe into politics. I don't even necessarily believe in politics. But this is the first time that I believe in somebody this much for a job like this, because I know him so well. Like, we came up together. I saw Ben do activism his entire youth. And when he got the Rhodes Scholarship, my father, I remember, said to him very pointedly, he said, Ben, I'm afraid that you're getting this scholarship so that you'll no longer be a threat to them, whoever they are. And Ben has always stayed true. And when I got in trouble with my show and all these things, he was like my confidant. I would call him to help me work through some very challenging personal problems, professional problems that I had, and he was always like a rock for me. And I think for the state of Maryland, it couldn't get any better. I truly.
You're saying, Dave,
I think that
when you were in, you're saying when you were in South Africa or you were taking a break from the career in the U.S., you were relying on him. What was his counsel to you then?
Well, I mean, I think that's kind of private. I think the bottom line is that I trusted him enough in a time when I didn't trust anybody, and that he's never betrayed my trust. I think that the trust in politics, on public office, is something that the country desperately needs, especially in this time. He's a very trustworthy person. The fact that a guy like this could possibly sit in a seat like the governor's chair is very exciting to me, and it makes me feel more faithful and hopeful about what our country could be.
Ben, you mentioned the drug war, cannabis is part of what you're running on. President Trump has spoken about that recently. Dave, you've talked a lot about those issues and racism in your comedy. I guess the question to both of you, Ben, is if you're going to change these laws in Maryland or be an example for the rest of the nation, do you talk about this as something that is just logical because cannabis might be overpunished in some places, or do you also address the fact that data shows this has been not just a war on drugs, but a war on black and brown people? To Ben and then Dave.
You know, we talk about all of it. I mean, it's undeniable. If you look at the enforcement patterns, they've been targeted against black and brown communities for a long time. But we also, frankly, talk about the violence in our city. I didn't start out on this journey over a year ago planning on this being a big issue in my campaign. I mean, Dave had made the argument to me for like a quarter century. But, you know, then something funny happened, Ari. I asked a retired member of the Baltimore Police Department, who just retired after 15 years on the force, to go talk to commanders across the city that he knew and ask him why violence was surging in our city. This was a year ago, on the second anniversary of the uprisings in Baltimore. And he came back and he said, Ben, you know, it's like two big data points. He said, one, none of them really agreed with anybody else. Like, they all had an argument about why violence was surging now. But they were also all in agreement that in the last 10 years in Baltimore City, they were all in agreement that half of the killings were one set of marijuana dealers killing their competition. And that just made me stop cold, because, you know, real talk, I've had 2 family members shot in Maryland in the last 10 years. And I'm absolutely committed to doing whatever it takes to bring down the shootings in our city and in our state and make sure nobody has to go through what my family's been through.
I look at the legalization of marijuana as an inevitability nationally, not just in the state of Maryland. And I'm sure that there is a gross disparity in the enforcement of drug laws in general in the United States. And if you look at Ben's resume, his entire professional life has been dedicated to the concept of equity for everybody, not just black people and brown people. I'm talking gender, I'm talking sexuality. He's trying to, like, right the playing field. I've watched him really sincerely work tirelessly to that end. I believe in the product. It's the first time that I've ever got to see somebody become a politician up close and retain themselves. You know, Ben is here with his kids today. He's a good dude, man. Like, there's nothing in this for me. I just feel like this guy should be on that stage. He's an important voice in my own personal life, and I think that he can make a great difference for the state of Maryland and, best case scenario, for the United States.
And you saw Dave's last special. He finally outed himself as a son of our state. You know, everybody's like, you know, Dave's from D.C., you know, assuming he's probably from, like, the toughest part of D.C. Dave's from Silver Spring. So, you know,
I did my
that's
time.
great meeting. Yeah.
I got my street cred, but I really do believe that this is a very pivotal time. And I'm just getting to that age, too. I mean, I'm sure you can relate. We start looking around, and everyone who's running things are your age, and you realize it's your peer group's turn to take the reins. And I just think he's one of the most competent people I know to that end. Like, he's oddly qualified for this, so I'm gunning for him.
Well, and Dave, you won an Emmy for your Saturday Night Live hosting right after the election. Everyone remembers what you said that night.
All my black friends who have money said the same thing when Trump got elected. That's it, bro. I'm out. I'm leaving the country. You coming with us? Nah, I'm good, dog. I'm gonna stay here and get this tax break, see how it works out. I'm wishing Donald Trump luck, and I'm gonna give him a chance, and we, the historically disenfranchised, demand that he give us one too.
Now here we are a year and a half in, you're out here campaigning for a Democratic candidate. Do you think Donald Trump has given all people in the country a chance? And how would you say it today?
Without talking about the president, I'm campaigning not even because Ben is a Democrat. I'm campaigning because he's trustworthy. If whatever party he ran under, I'm going to endorse this guy because I know him personally. I have no particular deep party affiliations. I think that we just had 8 years of a president who has a resume of social activism. I was happy with that president. And this guy has a similar resume. He's been doing this as long as I've known him. He's just been advocating for people. And I just believe he's very sincere in his effort. I've seen the blood, sweat, and tears of how he got to this position. And if he's, God willing, if he becomes this governor, I don't think anyone's going to be sorry for it. I think he'll do a great job. I think that it's a time when
you brought it up.
need some.
You brought up the word president. Do you think you're sitting next to someone who someday could be president as well?
I told Ben that he could be president of the United States before there was an Obama that I knew of. I mean, I've always believed that, but he chose another route. I mean, he stayed with his community activism.
Well, and back then I told him I just wanted to be president of the NAACP, and that ended up happening a little faster than we thought was possible.
Yeah, I mean, Ben, he's a remarkable dude, man. And I've seen him overcome his own personal demons and his own. It's really terrifying to aspire to do anything outside of the narrow boxes that society wants us to do. Ben's a brave dude, and he's a trustworthy dude, and he's retained all of himself. And I think that this is a great thing that he's running. That's why I'm here. There's nothing.
And I know.
As a matter of fact, it's dangerous for me to even step into the political arena. Poopity scoop.
Poopity scoop is how we end all of our interviews. My last question, I guess, because I know you guys got to go, is and starting with Ben. I mean, since you're with Chappelle, you're campaigning with Chappelle, which is something I think a lot of candidates would love to be able to do. Is there a kind of a Chappelle test we can apply here? Is there anything in politics that you see that would fall under the rubric of when keeping it real goes wrong?
I got to tell you, man, when we started off this journey, there's a story I tell about how Dave saved my life down in Jackson, Mississippi, when I was a young organizer fighting a Republican governor who was trying to make a black college a prison, and Dave showed up with a dime bag of pot. And things could have gone very wrong. But we were spared because the police officer recognized Dave from Def Jam. And all of a sudden, he just wanted tickets to the show and didn't search Dave's bag. That's, I think, the beauty of politics in this moment is that people are comfortable with us talking about what's real. Right? The fact that we were, once two much younger black men who were very afraid in that moment of spending a long time in jail and in prison. And you shouldn't have to be, that exceptional to be justly treated. And so that's, a lot of what fuels Dave's politics and a lot of what fuels Dave's comedy and my politics is the fact that we both survived an era where young black men were the most murdered in the country, the most incarcerated on the planet, and we both found our own ways to lift people to a higher place. And we both still recognize that, unfortunately, too much of what we went through as young people are still going through, and we're eager to see it change. Because we know how smart they are and how much they could be contributing if our system was just a little bit fairer, the playing field a bit more level, our country a bit more just.
Dave, final word?
For me, you may never see me endorsing somebody again, but I really do believe in the product. I mean, this is the real deal. This is the real deal.
Well, it's fascinating. We don't often see a duo like this. Learning a little bit about your history with each other, what motivates both of you, and what Ben says is why he wants to step into the arena is fascinating. So I thank you for bringing the story to The Beat, and thanks for your time, Dave Chappelle and Ben Jealous. Hey, I'm Ari Melber from MSNBC. You can see more of our videos right here, or better yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel below. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that.